Hello and welcome back to the Shakey Sonnet Show. I am Tootight Lautrec, the drag laureate of the Sonnetarium, and here we are once again in the Sonnetarium at the bottom of the down staircase in the permanently sequestered remainder section of an unnamed local library which may or may not have a couple of sad and lonely, dazed and confused looking lions on the front steps wondering, "Where is my beautiful spring? Where are my fragrant flowers? My bard, what have I done?" Today, we are looking at a trio of sonnets, another trio of sonnets, sonnets 97, 98, 99. And no, I'm not just squishing together a bunch of sonnets to get through them. Even the real scholars seem to agree that this trio, 97, 98, and 99, is a legitimate trio, as were the other ones that I presented before. But this week's trio even has, as a bonus, one extra line thrown in, because Sonnet 99 is the only sonnet in the series with 15 lines instead of 14. Now, I was surprised when I started researching these sonnets and reading them that many scholars find these three to be inferior sonnets, and I really couldn't disagree more. They're sad, slow, contemplative meditations on absence, using overused poetic conventions, yes, sure, but I find that they still seem to be fresh and melodic nonetheless. So we'll consider each separate sonnet in detail-ish, and then we'll look at them again in the context of the running narrative that I've been keeping or that I've been making up as we go along. But first I want to look at them all together as they're read, one right after the other, which I will do right now. So I'm going to read 97, 98, and 99. Which, Sonnet 97, by the way, I have done a lip sync of the wonderful Jill Fraser Lee lip syncing her words, her voice as I'm going along, just for Sonnet 97, which is a beautiful poem all in its own. And I will link that below. 97, 98, and 99. How like a winter hath my absence been from thee, the pleasure of the fleeting year. What freezings have I felt, what dark days seen, what old December's bareness everywhere. And yet, this time removed was summer's time, the teeming autumn, big with rich increase, bearing the wanton burden of the prime, like widowed wombs after their lord's decease. Yet this abundant issue seemed to me but hope of orphans and unfathered fruit. For summer and his pleasures wait on thee, and thou, away, the very birds are mute. Or if they sing, 'tis with so dull a cheer that leaves look pale, dreading the winter's near. From you have I been absent in the spring, when proud-pied April, dressed in all his trim, hath put a spirit of youth in everything, that heavy Saturn laughed and leapt with him. Yet nor the lays of birds, nor the sweet smell of different flowers in odor and in hue, could make me any summer's story tell, or from their proud lap pluck them where they grew. Nor did I wonder at the lily's white, nor praise the deep vermilion in the rose. They were but sweet, but figures of delight, drawn after you, you pattern of all those. Yet seemed it winter still, and you, away, as with your shadow, I with these did play. The forward violet, thus did I chide. Sweet thief, whence didst thou steal thy sweet that smells, if not from my love's breath? The purple pride which on thy soft cheek for complexion dwells, in my love's veins thou hast too grossly dyed. The lily I condemned for thy hand, and buds of marjoram had stolen thy hair. The roses fearfully on thorns did stand, one blushing shame, another white despair. A third, nor red nor white, had stolen of both, and to his robbery had annexed thy breath. But for his theft, in pride of all his growth, a vengeful canker eat him up to death. More flowers I noted, yet I none could see, but sweet or color it had stolen from thee. So let's look a little bit more closely at each one. Sonnet 97, the first quatrain. These are all exclamations framed with words that usually begin with a question. How and what? How like a winter hath my absence been from thee? What freezings have I felt? What old December's bareness everywhere? And this gives it, I think, a sense of wonder. And we all know how I feel about wonder. But also kind of a sense of confusion. I get the sense of someone sitting down in the garden, perhaps, and having a good sit down to think, looking around and feeling this wonder and sadness and thinking, without you, everything has gone cold. And as I say, the first quatrain is pretty self-explanatory. Everything's cold since you've been away. I'm freezing. Everything is bare. And then we get to the second quatrain. And yet this time removed was summer's time. The whole time that all of this bareness and coldness was occurring, it was in fact actually summer. And it was no good because you weren't here. And yet this time removed was summer's time, the teeming autumn, big with rich increase, bearing the wanton burden of the prime, like widowed wombs after their lord's decease. So there's this whole vocabulary packed with pregnancies and fruitfulness and big with rich increase. And I will just say that if you're ever having trouble sleeping, I would like you to collect all of the scholarship around this one phrase, bearing the wanton burden of the prime. Collect all that scholarship around you and begin to read it. You'll be off to La La Land in no time, because so much ink has been spilled about this one particular phrase. I don't really find that much difficulty in kind of figuring out what it's all about. Everything was rich and sexy when you were around, but I couldn't really enjoy it when you weren't in here. And all these pregnant, fruitful words add to the sense of that. In particular, the first three lines of the quatrain has the vitality of words such as summer, teeming, rich, increase, wanton, prime, followed up by the wan and weary widowed womb after their lord's decease. And that packs a punch of a different sort. There's this big, pregnant, voluptuous sense of things going wonderfully well, followed by this whimpering away into nothingness, with those W's and those S's, widowed wombs after their lord's decease. And both Patterson and Booth here offer up a concatenation of cocktail vocabulary words. Words like hippolage, transferred epithet, hyperbaton, hysteron, proteron. And my advice for you is to just skip the vocabulary words and go straight to the martini, because who's got that kind of time? Just as an example, Booth tries to clarify the word hyppallage, Hypallage, by telling us it's a kind of synesis in which a construction is understood in an extra grammatical logic. That's crystal clear. Cheers. So we move along to the third quatrain. By the way, Stephen Booth has lots and lots to say. If you're interested, it's really well worth your read. Hyder Edward Rounds, if you can get your hands on it, has more to say and more to reference it. Don Patterson has some things to say about it. There's a lot to think. If it does really interest you, feel free. But we won't dwell here. The third quatrain, the starkness of that widowed wombs after their lord's decease, the starkness of that gets even darker. And And even this booster crop of fruit and veg and love, even though it was abundant, may yet be abundant still. Even all that was going on, everything around me feels like despair, hope of orphans and unfathered fruit. Because let me just tell you, dead daddies spoil everything. So it's just a hop, skip, and a jump from hope of orphans and unfathered fruit to Charles Dickens' poor little orphan Pip. But we'll bang on as we go along. So everything that once was alive and sprightly and bright is now dull, and even the very birds are mute. Or are they? Because we get to the couplet, which retracts that statement. Or if they sing, maybe I'm exaggerating, but even if I am exaggerating, if they do sing, they sing such a sad song that it reminds me of winter and bareness and death and love and warmth and joy is a long way away from me. Even the leaves look pale, dreading the winter's near. Winter seems right here because you're not here with me. So we've got winter, we've got summer, we've got autumn. In this one poem, we've got summer again, we've got winter again. Wonder and confusion all around. And then we move along to Sonnet 98, where the first quatrain, the rhymes in the first two quatrains, in fact, are quite smooth and easy. They have those short I's, short E's, short oo sounds in the rhymes. Spring and thing, trim and hymn, smell and tell, hue and grew. And this smoothness creates a really beautiful sense of bucolic loveliness and peacefulness and lightness. And in the middle of this peace and lightness comes the proud pride April prancing in with the poppity pop of all those peas. And it's really just delightful. So delightful, in fact, that old heavy Saturn, who is the mythic embodiment of everything old and heavy and melancholy, even he's prancing around the garden. That's how light and peaceful and wonderful it is. And all of this loveliness, this peace and wonderfulness that is being described, this is all in the service of noting that that's all absent, which I think is really quite brilliant. All of this is going on, but it's actually absent. So we get to the second quatrain, which continues with those soft vowel sounds, and then come the smoothness of the S's. Lays, birds, sweet, smell, flowers, summer, story. A summer story, by the way, is a happy story, whereas a winter's tale is a tragic tale. So, yet nor the lays of birds, nor the sweet smell of different flowers in odor and in hue could make me any summer's story tell. Even all this loveliness couldn't make me happy. Or from their proud lap pluck them where they grew. And here we have a nice little slap and tickle, another poppity pop of the lap, their proud lap pluck them where they grew. So this little slap and tickle adds a nice little sexual charge here. But again, this is all in the service of absence. And the loveliness is so well rendered that we almost forget about the absence that it's describing. And then in the third quatrain, nor did I wonder at the lilies white, the roses red. And this is far different from the canker and the rose and the festering lily that we saw in Sonnets 94 and 95. Nor did I wonder, which also differs from 97. There's no confusion here. There's nothing but beauty. You were the pattern from which everything took shape. And all this loveliness is followed by the couplet. Yet seemed it winter still, and you away, as with your shadow, I with these did play. All of this loveliness, but you weren't here. Just the shadows and the memory of you were here, and I couldn't enjoy any of it without you. Without you, my only playmate, and maybe occasionally my right hand, these are the only things that I played with while you were gone. So this really lovely bucolic sonnet, which is in a way an adoration of spring, but also an adoration of spring in the service of absence, comes to a cap with this couplet saying, "You were away." It's really quite beautiful. This is what I've been missing, and he does really a good job of depicting the loveliness that is not there. And then we move along to Sonnet 99. And it seems the fruitful bounty of the seasons in 97 and 98 was such a bumper crop that Sonnet 99 grew an extra line. It's the only sonnet in the series with 15 lines instead of 14. So again, there's a lot of commentary on which line is the extra line, and you can find that out on your own. I don't really care. I have decided that the first line is the extra line simply because it sets up this dramatic monologue that follows, and it does rhyme. Chide rhymes with pride, rhymes with died. So the first line rhymes with the third line, rhymes with the fifth line, and that's the only set of 3 rhymes in the thing. So I'd say that the first line is the extra. So if we look at what would be the first quatrain, except for now it's a quintet, everything is pretty self-explanatory, except for forward. Forward gave me a little bit of trouble. It just means early blooming and precocious. The forward violet, thus did I chide. And he gives the violet that has bloomed early a little bit of a talking to. How did you get your smell except from my love's breath? The purple pride, which, talk amongst yourselves, which on thy soft cheek for complexion dwells, in my love's veins thou hast too grossly dyed. You've taken your beautiful color from my love. Everything that you have, you've stolen from my love. And in the second quatrain, we go from violets to lilies to marjoram to roses, red and white and other. And Shakespeare sort of beats that poor lame workhorse of a floral metaphor to within an inch of its life here. And we get the idea. Everything that you have got, dear flowers, you've stolen from my beloved. We get to the third quatrain, and we have another rose. A third, nor red nor white, had stolen of both, and to his robbery had annexed thy breath. But for his theft, in pride of all his growth, a vengeful canker, eat him up to death. So the smell of my love's breath is better than flowers. And this is quite sexually charged. The purple pride, the rose that's standing straight up in the pride of all his growth, which Booth has noted has more than a whiff of what he calls phallic tumescence. And we'll just, pew. Is that phallic tumescence? No, it's not. But there is a sexual sense, much like in the first two, of intercourse and fruitful coming together, shall we say. A bit of seed being spilled all over the place. And then this thief, who has stolen the sweet smell from the beloved's breath, is punished for his robbery. A vengeful canker eat him up to death, which we have antibiotics for today. So that rose is destined for a little bit more misery than we have to be today. So the couplet. More flowers I noted, yet I none could see, but sweet or color it had stolen from thee. So in order to inflict the final fatal blow to our floral metaphor workhorse comes this couplet, where every flower stole every good thing for you, blah, blah, blah. It's not like we have never heard that before. But which makes me think, why not copied? Why have you not copied this from my love? Why stolen? And if it's been stolen, does that mean my beloved no longer has any of those things? The police are on the case. My beloved no longer has any of those things, perhaps. So is my beloved less beautiful? Is his breath, need a little refreshing? I don't know. It's not just copied, it's been stolen. And so looking further into this, some say that in Sonnet 99, Shakespeare is getting a little sloppy and overdoing that old tired convention of the floral and botanical profusion to extol the beauty of a lover. But because 99 is all about theft, Booth and others have noted that perhaps Shakespeare's tongue was firmly in his cheek because he had stolen much of this or copied or written it similarly to his friend Constable's sonnet Deceased from Constable's collection Diana. So there's a bit of, it's possibly a stolen idea of a poem. Perhaps he's riffing on it. Perhaps he's overdoing it on purpose. And yet he still does a pretty good job of it at that. So I don't care what the scholars say. I think this is a banging trio of sonnets. So is there a male or a female anywhere designated in any of these? No, there's not. The only gendered pronouns is him, and that doesn't refer to either the narrator or the beloved. Him in 97 refers to summer, in 98 refers to April, in 99 refers to the rose. So it's anybody's game. Dramatically, I don't know if there are any plays with lovers who have broken up and then have an extended separation and one pines for the other. If there are, maybe Midsummer Night's Dream, where the young lovers are in the forest and cast under spells, and so one of them is cast under a spell, the other is mourning the loss of the other. But that's the closest that I can come to. If you know of any others, please let me know. Narratively, it seems to me that either Sonnet 96, if we're thinking about this as a one long story, my idea is that either 96 was a real breakup and 97, 98, and 99 are the mourning, swooning, rose-colored rewriting of history of their relationship. Or perhaps 96 was a breakup and this trio are written to a different beloved, perhaps a new beloved, or even a side piece beloved, testing the waters now that the narrator is free to sow some wild sonnets. I don't know. That's a possibility in terms of narrative, I think. Either way, this trio is a definite break from in a relationship, and possibly from the sonnets that we've seen in 1 to 96. Aside from the playfulness of 99, 97 is very melancholy. 98 travels through a land of past joy. 98 does. 99 caps it all off in a way that almost ignores the bereft qualities of 97 and 98. There's quite a bit of time travel. There's some season travel. And to me, there's the confusion that's wrought here seems sort of normal after a big breakup. The memory of a broken relationship can be very weird and confusing. You think about it after everything is over and done, and you think, well, was I happy in the middle of that relationship? Was I sad? Was I angry? Am I happy now? Why am I so sad now? Was it really love at all? And this type of confusion is really, I think, wonderfully wrought here. And again, Shakespeare successfully delves into the vicissitudes of all the things that one can go through in a broken-hearted mind. Narratively, where will this lead? Will the lovers get back together? Will the narrator take a new beloved, or has he already? Will there be a period of wanton dissipation, as sometimes happens after a big breakup? Or will the narrator break down completely? I don't know. We'll have to wait until next week to see. While we're waiting, I would ask that you simply keep your mind and your hearts open and stop and smell the flowers and enjoy all the wonders that are in your world. And for goodness sakes, pay attention. Until next week, I am Tootight Lautrec.